Hey there guys, Evo here, and today everyone, I wanted to do a review on the Human Centipede movie. Now, I watched this for the first time very recently, because for a while I've been kind of putting it off, because I knew the basic premise of the movie. And if you don't know the basic premise, basically they're stitching people's faces to other people's butts. Now, I knew this premise way before, and so I was kind of hesitant to watch it for a really long time because while I do like gore horror and really gross horror movies, there's certain gross stuff that I just can't handle. And this was definitely one of them. I'll explain here in a second. If you don't know, my favorite movie franchise is the Saw films. And I really like Hellraiser and Saw for a lot of the different reasons of the gore and stuff. But man, Human Centipede is very different. So a lot of people can handle the Saw movies, and I think people that can't handle the Saw movies really should not watch this. And I think even if you can handle watching stuff like that, I think the Human Centipede movie is something definitely to be cautious about when watching. It, at times, for me personally, I was getting squeamish. Just like, it, just I didn't have to look away from any gore movies Terrifier saw. As soon as this movie got into its plot, I had to look away several times because I was so grossed out. And it's not necessarily gory. There are a few scenes that might be considered some gore, but all in all, it's very much not a gory movie. It is, however, very, very bad for people who are squeamish, especially at surgery stuff. A lot of it is like a surgery scene, and so yeah, there is a lot here with this movie. So let's just start unpacking it. This is your spoiler warning for this video. Click off now if you don't want to see any spoilers. So this movie is really, really cool, and honestly, in my opinion, the plot is really good. They do a really good job with the storyline. I do like the story quite a bit. I don't fully understand the surgeon's motives. So that is the bad guy in the movie, is the surgeon. And it's basically explained that in Germany he is a surgeon that is very good at taking apart conjoined twins and making them their own, like, person without being conjoined. And so basically he is the top surgeon in all of Germany for this. And everybody knows who he is. He lives kind of in the forest. And your story takes place with these two girls. I don't remember their names, I'm going to be honest. I think one was like Lindsay or something, but I don't remember. Basically, they're on a backpacking tour of Europe, kind of like the movies Hostel, if you've ever seen that. They are also on a backpacking tour. And yeah, so basically, they're backpacking across Europe and having a fun little gap year kind of thing. They basically end up with a flat tire in the middle of a forest, and they wander through the forest aimlessly, and basically find this guy's house. And so they knock on the door, and the doctor, the surgeon, answers, and he's like, "Oh, hey, and it's really, really off-putting, like, the whole moment, which is really good for a horror film. When you know someone is bad, and you don't really know why yet. Like, you kind of know, but you don't really know in this film. The only thing you've seen of the actual surgeon guy before this was him looking at a photo of what looked like a Photoshop dog. He called it his three dog, which was basically three dogs in a human centipede style, the dog's face and the other one's butt, and so on and so forth for three. Now, basically, at this point in the film, the girls don't really know who he is, because, of course, if you go to, like, if you go to a different country, you're not going to really know who the famous people are there. And so, basically, yeah, they go in and they're like, okay, can you call, like, AAA or whatever? I think they called it, like, roadside assistance or something. Anyway, long story short, he's like, yeah, let me ask you some questions first. How old are you guys? Are you related? What, what's your blood type? Like, really strange questions. And the girls realize how strange it is. And they basically are like, oh, what a lovely home you have here. Do you live here with your wife? And he's just like, I hate human beings. And they're so off put at this point that they're just kind of like, and he kind of like laughs it off and lightens it up by going like, oh, you guys want something to drink though? And this whole scene is so off putting though. Basically, uh, he ends up capturing them and tying them in his basement. And he has like a little hospital in his basement, a little surgeon room, which is terrifying. I think that plot is a very strong thing. There's something ordinarily just kind of creepy about basements. I don't know what it is. But horror movies, when they utilize basements, are so much creepier. Like, if you look at Texas Chainsaw, when the characters are in the basement, you get this sense of, like, your heart beating a little quicker. And in this movie, that is very true. There are a couple scenes where they are in the basement, and your heart just starts beating. And it is not even necessarily, like, that anything is down there with them, but your heart just starts getting tense, and I think it's because in a basement there's only one way out usually. It's not like there's like 3 doors. It's one door to get out, and they can literally stand in that door and block it, and you can't do anything. And that's very true for this movie. There is a scene where the main character kind of starts to escape, but she comes back to the basement, and it is very tense. Needless to say, it is one of the more tense scenes in the movie. And honestly, like, your heart starts beating a little bit, and you kind of start thinking, like, oh, what's going to happen next? And if you don't know much about the movie, it is very, very fast-paced. This movie goes into its plot almost instantly, which is really good for a movie like this. You want that. And I think it very much carried the movie, how fast-paced it was, because if it had been slower-paced, I probably wouldn't have made it through. But it is fast-paced, so it gets to the point very quickly, which I like. The one gripe I'm going to say about this movie is, honestly, there's so many parts in this film that feel so far-fetched, that are just so... These characters are so stupid that there is no way they're this stupid. For instance... and as I've been saying throughout this video, there are a ton of spoilers. I gave a little on-screen spoiler warning, but here's a verbal one. One of the main girls gets out, pulls her IV out, right? But she forgets she has an IV, so she kind of like yanks it, and then her whole arm is bloody. Like, the entire arm. And this necessarily... I don't know if it could happen like that. I personally don't think your whole arm would be engulfed in blood like that. It was very dramatic. But let's say, yeah, that's true. That's how bloody it gets. She runs around the house touching every single surface imaginable to make this guy be able to track her. And it's just kind of like, are you serious? Why? And there's one scene in particular where she's kind of like looking for the front door, which I get if you're not familiar with the house. And it's locked. So she ends up going and hiding in the guy's bedroom and locking that door, right? Which isn't a horrible idea. And his bedroom, it's a 1-story house with a basement. So his bedroom's got a glass sliding door. And she doesn't go over to it at all. She just kind of sits there crying. Which, if you had gone to the glass sliding door, you would have been out. Anyway, basically, he goes looking for her, and ends up finding her, hitting the door. And he's like, you come out now. If you don't come out, I'm not going to give you anesthetic in the procedure. And basically, tormenting her. And then it gets quiet. And you're like, oh, maybe it's safe to go. And so... she ends up, like, opening the, she ends up sitting there, actually. Sorry. She ends up sitting there for a very, very long time. And you're like, why are you just sitting there? It's a 50-50 shot that you're going to get caught if you go out that door. There's no way to guarantee it. And so she just sits there, though. And it's horribly, horribly paced. And you're just like, why? Like, what was the purpose of this? And then she decides to finally go out the sliding door, and right as she opens the curtains to the sliding door, he's standing there with a gun. He starts breaking the window, and she can't find the key that she used to lock the door, and literally goes searching for it for like 5 minutes. It is so horrendously stupid of the main character that you're just like, how in the hell is something like this happening? There isn't a way that something like this could happen. You can't be this stupid. And I love horror movies where the main characters are smart, but the villains are smarter. And this is not that type of movie. These characters are so insanely stupid, it isn't even funny. And so, anyway, she ends up unlocking the door and running, and she just so happens to run into his indoor pool and falls in the pool. First of all, how you don't see a pool, I don't understand. She's running and just runs into the pool, and of course that's, there is no exit in the pool. You are stuck in that room. And she ends up falling in the pool. The surgeon guy, comes in and is just like, oh, ha ha ha, dead end. Which makes a lot of sense, actually. Tries to shoot her with the tranq dart, and basically she goes under the water. Now, this is actually a kind of dumb thing for him to do, because his whole goal is to make a human centipede, which is basically 3 people attached, mouth to butt, mouth to butt, mouth to butt. And their knees, the back of the knees get cut, so they are on all fours constantly, and they won't be able to extend their legs. Now, this is so insanely stupid of him, but he basically ends up pushing the pool cover. Now, it's an automatic pool cover that's kind of goes over her. And there have been a lot of real-life cases where people die from this, getting stuck under the pool cover thing. And he's like, well, now you're forced to come out. Here's the thing. She knows what's about to happen to her, and she knows the procedure already. And she's aware because he gives like a full PowerPoint presentation, which why he does that, I don't know. He doesn't really need to explain to them why. But whatever. And he doesn't explain why he wants to do this either. He kind of just wants to do it, which is another really weak point in this movie that they don't explain at all. And then you have the obvious plot error of like, okay, so the pool cover's getting drawn. He needs this girl alive. Why are you trying to drown her? It doesn't make a ton of sense, and honestly, it's a very iffy point in the movie, because you're just like, okay, so he needs her alive because there's a whole thing where they have to have like the same blood type to do the procedure. Earlier there was someone who didn't have it and he ended up killing that person, but they have the same blood type. And also they find another guy with the same blood type. Why in the world would you try to kill someone with the blood type you need? Because, like, I get that she's not cooperating, but why? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it's a low point in the movie, in my opinion. And then you also have, so he just draws it, and then he gets a call on the phone. So he walks away. She gets out of the pool instantly, and goes to the bedroom. Starts walking outside, because the glass is shattered, so she can get out. She starts walking outside, then she stops, and then she goes back for her friend that's still in the basement. Why she does this, I don't know. She would have been out. Now, as if that's not bad enough, right? The whole point she's in the basement, your heart is pumping. And she ends up getting her friend out of the bed, but realizes she can't lift her. And so she has to drag her the entire freaking way. And she is slow at dragging. It's not like a Marine drags, like, you know, their fellow veteran that's on the floor. No, it is like you are dragging a 400-pound person and you weigh like 50 pounds. Like, it is the slowest drag of your life. And you're like, are you kidding me? Why? Why did you go back in the first place, A? And why are you dragging the friend? Like, once you realize you can't lift the friend, okay, go and leave. Here's my other point that I don't really understand. If she left, right, realistically, the surgeon wants a three centipede person thing. If you leave, that's 2. He isn't going to do the procedure with 2. He's going to look for a 3rd. So leave, go get the cops, say what's happening, have the cops go. It would have been so smart. Like, it would have been the best move she could have made, but instead she goes for the stupidest move of going to save the friend directly, which, like, even cops, to an extent, say, don't be your hero, call us because we're trained to be the heroes. Like, stuff like that. But why does she go back? I don't get that. Anyway, she ends up getting her friend all the way to the outside, and then they both get tranked. Procedure takes place. They become the Centipede. It is disgusting. Like, from this point on, it is just the grossest thing ever. I'm not really going to go into this whole part too much. Basically, they become the human centipede. It's 3 people. The girls are in the back. The guys in the front. It's gross. And throughout the movie, there's a lot of nudity, I will say that. But it is extremely gross. There were several times that had me actually gagging, which I've never gagged at a horror film, so that was a lot. And then I, afterwards, felt like I was going to throw up after the movie, so I went upstairs and just laid in my bed and just sat with the fan on high. I couldn't do anything, and I actually ended up having to just, like, sleep the entire rest of the night in my room, just not doing anything, because I was so sick. And, yeah, the ending of the movie kind of goes a little something like this. So, like, spoiler warning, once again. Basically, one of the girls gets sick from being on the centipede, which is fully understandable. Like, if you are eating the other person's poop, it makes perfect sense you're going to get sick. And he has this grand idea of, oh, we'll just replace her. You still need the same blood type. That didn't change. But, anyway, and that scene is really gross when he's, like, looking at her illness, because she has, like, yellow ooze coming out of her mouth. It's disgusting. And then, right, a knock on the door from the cops, missing people in the area. The cops come in, and these cops are the stupidest fucking cops on the planet. I swear to God, guys, it is the most brainless cops ever, and it's to a point that it's annoying to watch. And I think this is a part in the horror movie that I really hated, because I was so annoyed with these cops that I just couldn't enjoy the movie for what it was, because it was so brain dead, these cops. They come in saying, oh, there's missing people in your area. And so he goes, yes, of course, come in, da-da-da-da, I'm a surgeon, da-da-da-da-da, and they come in, right? And they instantly start noticing some really weird stuff. For one, they notice that there's a giant cage where he kept the human centipede. And they go, huh? Like, this is really strange. And they go, one of your neighbors heard a girl screaming from here. And he just kind of goes, I don't know. You know, people play pranks all the time. You know, that kind of thing. And you're just kind of like, really? These cops, like, they know, but they don't do anything. Here's the thing. And then he kind of just goes, oh. I'm trying to remember the full thing. He goes down to his basement. No. First, he tries to drug the cops, and he's going to add them to the human centipede, which makes no sense, but whatever. What if they're not the same blood type? You don't know their blood type. Tries to drug them. Doesn't really work too well. So, one of the cops is drinking the liquid, and the other one ends up throwing the cup on the ground. Because he starts realizing this guy's kind of, like, not saying the truth. And so, there's a whole bunch of weird photos in the guy's house, too. And if the cops had, like, gone around the backyard at all, they would have seen the 3 dog and been like, what the hell's that? There's a full grave in his backyard dedicated to this. There's numerous dead bodies buried in his backyard as well. So it's just kind of like, oh, they didn't even do any homework to, like, figure out what's up in the area. Like, I don't know. Cops are not that brain dead. Like, in real life, you would not get away with something like that easy. I do watch a lot of, like, body cam videos and stuff. And here's the thing, right? The guy goes, oh, in one scene he says, come back with a search warrant. But he says this after he drops a needle full of tranquilizer in front of the cops. He literally drops it in front of them, and the cops do nothing. They don't shoot, they don't pull a gun out, nothing. They just stand there. And they're like, oh, you're looking fishy right now, man. no shit, he's looking fishy. He's the killer. Like, what did you think? And the human centipede at this point is screaming in the basement, and the cops can hear it and don't do anything, which is another big issue I have with this film. The cops are literally brain dead. And then he goes, oh, we're going to search your house. And the surgeon goes, no, you ain't. Come back with a warrant. Here's the thing. Cops only need a warrant if it's a search that doesn't, I believe this is the case. Cops only need a warrant if they are searching you unjustly. They have to get it okayed. But if there is a sense that someone is in danger, they are allowed to go wherever the hell they want. And they will. There have been a couple times in body cam videos where I've seen it happen where they're like, oh, come back with a warrant. And he's like, no, you might have a child inside your house that you kidnapped. Stuff like that. They wouldn't need a warrant. They would just search what they want. But they go, yeah, we'll go get a warrant. I'll be back in 20 minutes. Better not hide anything. Like, and it's like, what? And, of course, he starts freaking out. And at this point, the human centipede actually ends up stabbing him in the foot. And so the human centipede starts going up the stairs and tries to get out of the house by going through the broken window in the bedroom. But the window is not broken anymore. So he had repaired the window. Anyway, he's like on the floor limping and starts just climbing up the stairs. Ends up catching up to the human centipede. Now, the main guy, the lead of the human centipede, literally just ends up going and saying, like, oh, I can't do this anymore. You know, I've been a horrible human being, and this is my punishment. And he ends up killing himself. And you're just kind of like, okay, like, I get that to an extent. Like, if I was in that situation of, like, being tied to 3 humans, you know, face to butt, yeah, I'd probably be in the same boat as him. I'd probably be thinking, like, oh yeah, no, this is the best option. But even still, like, really? I don't know. It seems weak, especially considering we didn't care about the character all that much. They didn't give us any plot with that character. So I don't know. That part seems really weak. And yeah, honestly, in the ending too, it's really stupid because he ends up killing the cops, and then he ends up getting shot in the head and dying. And the girl dies of a sickness. The main guy dies from killing himself. And then the middle person ends up just kind of staying there. She can't move because she has 2 people attached to her. So she's stuck there. Now, here's the thing. If he ended up killing the cops, right? The police department would be like, oh, that was their last address. We haven't heard from them in 6 days. We're going there. Find the girl. Blah, 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 blah. And she would be safe. Anyway, my thoughts on this movie are it's very unrealistic at all. Like, you would never be able to do something like he did and get away with it and just, like, get off scot-free. The characters are really, really stupid, like, to a new degree of horror movie making dumb decisions, and I hated that. I can't watch movies where horror movie characters like make such a stupid decision several times and you're just like, that's why the killer's so good. Like, you get, like, the thing with Halloween is Laurie Strode's very smart, but they make Michael Myers more powerful than her and just this insane force to be reckoned with, and it works. But something like this where she just keeps walking down to the same basement, it's like, okay, come on. And yeah, I don't know. It wasn't really my thing. I do like kind of the goriness of it. The surgery scenes were kind of cool. But overall, honestly, there is a lot wrong with this movie, and the grossness is to an extreme. I do think they do horror very well in it. With the gross horror, I think it really, really does shine. If you like gross horror, I highly recommend it. If not, there's not really much here for you. There's a couple tense moments here and there, but it's mainly just gross, and yeah. That's pretty much all. I mean, I would give it, like, out of 10, maybe like a 5 out of 10. It wasn't really great. It wasn't really that anything. It was just kind of, it's there. Actually, I'm going to say a 4 out of 10 because I hated how stupid those characters were. It was painful. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Let me know if you guys watched the movie, what you thought of it. And And yeah, I honestly thought it was just kind of bad, but okay. Like, eh, I don't really get the point of it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I will see you all in next week's video. Peace out and have a great rest of everyone's day. Bye, guys.